Well, I hope you like slop. You see, recently, Tim Sweeney was talking about Linux refusing to ban AI-written code, and he came out swinging for the technology as a whole. And his argument basically goes like this. This is the beginning of the end of the AI Luddite movement, and it's long overdue. AI is a generational productivity tool for all fields. Companies that let AI haters co-opt their decisions will become entirely unviable as competition whizzes by with better products. So, that's what Tim was saying. And that quote, all fields, I think is quite a big claim. I mean, come on, Tim, you'd have more credibility if you said most fields, not a big crazy claim like all. But anyway, rather fortunately, Tim Sweeney's very own video game Fortnite just announced the rollout of Gen AI voices. So, let's hear these new and better products Tim is so happy about.
Hello there. This is a sample of this voice.
Hello there. This is a sample of this voice.
Hello there. This is a sample of this voice.
Oh dear. Mr. Sweeney, I think that in your rush to denigrate the Luddites, you may have put the loom before the weaver. You see, that clip is apparently what a year of development sounds like. And it doesn't sound great. You see, last year, Sweeney was calling this stuff a superpower. And in some ways, I think it can be. It can be a massive force multiplier. But it's got to be used where it's actually useful. So why does he think that this terrible voice acting is okay to send out to his customers? Well, that's because he is in a race with his competition. So forget AI versus anti-AI. Oh no. The real contest is over whose AI implementation everyone ends up backing. And Tim Sweeney intends to win this by entrenching his company even further, even deeper within the games industry. When Gen AI voices first appeared in Fortnite, it was a toy. In fact, we kind of called out how deviously clever it was. It was basically the first mass market way players would interact with this tech within a big major video game. And of course what it was Darth Vader in Fortnite, wearing the voice of a deceased James Earl Jones, and it was the subject of many memes and viral clips because it was immediately tricked into saying slurs. It was quite funny, let's be honest. Now, it being a bit of a silly toy thing kind of defanged the concerns for most players because it wasn't serious and it was done with permission from James Earl Jones' estate. But it obviously would not stay a toy forever. At Unreal Fest last year, Sweeney pitched it to developers as the future. Small indie teams creating characters with, quote, personality and infinite dialogue. Now, of course, we see it. The tech has been in testing since April, and now, from July 30th, anyone building a Fortnite experience can put 36 AI voice characters in front of players. Now, these aren't new skins. They are basically existing characters deployed as NPCs, just like Vader. And what it means is, rather than writing a dialogue tree, where, you yourself as a writer could write some dialogue that could be really good, you'd work with an actor to record it, you then put it in the game. No, none of that's going to be the thing anymore. Instead, what happens is the NPC is prompted with in-universe knowledge and character traits. Then, whenever the player, say, asks it a question or has an interaction, the bot is able to react in character. That's the pitch anyway. And to avoid more slurs, Epic says that the pipeline should have new guardrails this time. And from what we understand, those guardrails are a Gemini model reading the conversation, and then, of course, 11 labs speaking out the reply. And to get ahead of the child safety concerns, player audio is not stored, and these bots will be limited to age 13 plus verified servers. But there is a question then, why would a developer want to use these? But first, we gotta take a little spooky pause because a story broke this month that is honestly a little bit shocking, and it's exactly why I want to talk about Incogni, today's sponsor. So this is the Assurance America breach that won't really be that reassuring. You see, it reportedly affected around 6.9 million people, and the breach notifications say the driver's license numbers and insurance information have been exposed. That's really bad. And think about it. Assurance America isn't a data broker, it's just an ordinary insurance company quietly sitting on enough fragments of your life that it can start to feel like your whole identity is just out there waiting to be assembled by some bad actor. And of course, when a company like that gets pwned and the data gets out there, anyone can get their hands on it. Now, while Incogni hasn't unlocked time travel powers and they can't undo a breach that's already happened, what they can do is they can find the data brokers holding your personal information, they can send takedown requests on your behalf and keep monitoring because that stuff has got a nasty habit of reappearing. And since I started using Incogni, it's sent 308 removal requests for me, 296 are already completed, it's still monitoring 22 brokers, and the dashboard estimates that it saved me about 222 hours of doing all the takedowns myself. Realistically, though, I'm lazy, and I wouldn't have done them myself, so I'm glad they have. And if you head to incogni.com/bellularnews and use code BellularNews, you'll get 60% off an annual plan. Okay, back to the news. Is this stuff valuable? Well, Epic claims that this tech can basically do the job of a normal NPC while responding in natural language within voice chat. Now, their example is a player convincing an NPC to let them into a castle by basically proving they've got enough experience. That's the kind of thing you could do with a dialogue tree, but obviously here it's meant to be more dynamic and conversational in a way that a human might converse with another human using their voice. And it's worth saying this isn't the first time we've seen it in a mainstream game, and that might be why Sweeney wants to get this stuff out. He wants to be in the race. Now, the game in question is Where Winds Meet. There's actually way more of them, but it is just one of the many games featuring text chatbot NPCs that you can have conversations with. But if we're to go further than text and go to, say, voice, well, there is Amazon's incredible Courtroom Chaos franchise. It has players do fun things like litigate with a Snoop Dogg themed chatbot. I think there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. And it really is peak slop. I mean, just look at the damn thing. Now, for Fortnite, of course, the benefit to this is fairly simple. It's richer islands with as little development work needed as is possible. Epic promises that you can even modify an existing character's personality so that you can really fully flesh out your world. But you actually can't do that for all of the NPCs. We know that at launch, 17 of the 36 will not have editable personalities whatsoever, and that's because those ones are Fortnite IP. Characters like, say, Peely. And funnily enough, it's those characters especially that sounded wrong. That sounded like sound-alikes of the real thing. Which is, of course, because that's exactly what they were. Now, Epic says these voices were built with, quote, independent professional actors specifically for use in developer-made islands. And hey, if you're a company doing R&D, I understand doing a pilot project of something like that. But I think where I start to just think, are these people all just in weird psychosis land? Is that the quality is not there. Yet Epic seems happy to just make it product and get it out the door. That's the bit that's confusing. And that's because in so many of these fields, there are ways to use this technology as a tool, rather than, say, a replacement for the human art. It just feels strange to me that these companies keep on, I think, just getting it wrong, where they want to just completely replace the thing, rather than, say, augment. I don't know, it seems weird to me. But very obviously, this is setting the stage for Epic's next big expansion, which of course is everyone else's intellectual property, because it seems this test is expanding. Here's what's going to happen in Epic's own words. Our next step is to work with the relevant guilds and character voice actors who have previously worked on Fortnite Battle Royale to explore opportunities to make their original voices available across the Fortnite ecosystem. Now, I'm going to come in there and say, that's not their original voice, my dude. That is, a model voice cloning it. It's not the original. Let's not be silly and kid ourselves. Though you can see what Tim & Co wants to pull off. Just think about the pop culture katamari that Fortnite is, just rolling across all of culture, gobbling it all up. Now think about, say, how many voice NPCs they could make. They could make 4 separate Samuel L. Jackson roles alone. Now, imagine each of those with a fixed IP-specific voice available as an NPC in your very own Fortnite island. You can have Mace Windu and Nick Fury give orders as you progress through a level, and you could be chuffed about that, I suppose. Now, none of that stuff is licensed today, and Brand Islands can't even use these bots yet, but it does tell you where they want all of this to go. And where they want to go makes sense from their own perspective, right? I mean, that's why they wanted, say, James Earl Jones for Vader. They wanted the authenticity. They know that's what pulls people in, even if the authenticity is from a voice clone that doesn't really sound right. And as much as they're sending out good vibes about working with the relevant guilds and stuff, well, the Vader thing kind of got them in trouble there. The Screen Actors Guild filed an unfair labor practice charge over the Vader chatbot, saying that it replaced the work of living actors and ignored the union's right to bargain. Of course, there are more people who have voiced Darth Vader than James Earl Jones, but this story's far more than just that one case, and on the topic of original voices, it very much seems that Epic want to do the same thing again, of build first and then bargain with whatever power structures exist after. Now, getting the various unions, guilds, etc. to sign off on this would likely be very costly indeed, but Epic may be inclined to pay based on what they think they'll earn from all of this stuff. And that is because Fortnite was very much never the whole plan. At Unreal Fest this year, we learned more about Unreal Engine 6. What it basically does is it merges UE5, used for full game production, with UEFN, which is the creator tools for Fortnite. And one of the biggest goals for their toolset is that content can move between UE6 games really easily. So, I guess, in part, it is a little bit of a metaverse play. Though unfortunately for Tim, Zuck already took the company name Meta. Now, in a way, I could understand this smelling like the NFT craze all over again to many people, right? But Epic have something that I guess the NFT people didn't. Epic are already one of the most used engines in the games industry. Transferring items and character models between games is still years out, but the technology underneath, well, that might be more flexible. And so, them making changes at the engine level could be quite large for pushing forward new standards and pushing forward adoption. So I want you to think about what this could mean. Fortnite's tools for building chatbot NPCs are on track to be part of Unreal Engine 6. Any creators, game studios, etc. would get a library of these voices, potentially even including characters defined from other franchises, and that would reach far beyond Fortnite. It would reach every Unreal Engine 6 game, every movie or show or entertainment product built with UE6, and that is the real value here. And in his closing remarks at the State of Unreal 2026, Sweeney delivered an impassioned speech about the state of the industry. That basically AAA games are failing, I think a lot of us do see that the shift toward third spaces in gaming is a thing, and that the growth of buying items rather than games is, well, something to think about. Basically, he's talking about the growth of, say, Roblox, and really any other product that holds your attention in that way, and it seems he thinks Unreal Engine 6 is the answer that he can bring to that challenge. And here's it in his very own words. To accomplish that, we need to change the way we build games. Build better games more efficiently, and build for connected games, where all players are connected and economies are connected, so players, instead of seeing these as isolated products, see them as part of a global ecosystem that all game developers participate in together. Ugh. I don't like that. I mean, great for business, great for investor types, just look at, say, Roblox's whole stock journey, but for the quality of games, that sure does smell like massive homogenization to me. And what it also is bad for any dev or consumer in my opinion, and that's because what he's kind of pitching is a global ecosystem with his very company underneath the whole thing. That's not really great. And it's why the rushed out sound-alikes landing in Fortnite are basically just the next step along that path. Sweeney is, it seems, more interested in walking that path than he is interested in delivering a quality product and experience to his customers, as evidenced by them thinking that those voices are shippable, which I think they most certainly are not. But what worries me even more is that the more that this happens, the more people's standards may slip and slip and slip and slip. Not because they're stupid, but because we're in a crazy attention economy, and one where the incentives don't always prioritize quality. I think that can and maybe will lead to a decline in standards, which is bad for humanity. To put it simply, it's bad for games as a medium. And from the consumer angle, well, this is more technology that is designed to entrench Unreal Engine as the future. And you know what? I don't think that's great either. Okay, now for the big bit. Let's follow Tim Sweeney's pitch for the future of game dev to its endpoint. So, if you're an Unreal Engine developer, you don't need voice actors anymore. You don't need writers anymore outside of just prompting the NPCs. Let's not think about any of the quality implications there. No, not at all. They'll be fine, don't worry about it. You, of course, can also build your game assets using Gen AI tools as well, and even your code can come from an LLM. And hey, I'll say that's probably where the LLMs do actually make the most sense, or can be the most useful to a human who is using it as a tool rather than a replacement. But to push on through Tim's plan, you wouldn't even need to pay for your game engine until your first UE6 game makes its first $1 million. It all goes back to where we started. Sweeney claiming that this tech was a, quote, generational productivity tool, that teams could make NPCs with, quote, personality and infinite dialogue. The aim, basically, is that one person can sit down with Unreal Engine and build every single part of a game themselves. As long, of course, as it all runs on rails that Epic have laid down. That's the more chilling bit, because I look at this and I think, oh dear, this is a huge amount of centralization. But even putting that future worry aside, it doesn't even seem to have mattered to them how good this technology has been at launch, because it hasn't been great. They don't seem to care what happens to the rest of the industry. Oh no, Unreal Engine's great. It's the future. It's going to be the future for everyone, and why would you have a problem with it? Because it's going to be the future, and it's so very great. I guess it doesn't matter if every game sounds the same, looks the same, and maybe even feels the same. I mean, God, we already have people looking at a game and thinking, that just looks like Unreal Engine. I can't wait for the frame stuttering. Or say UE3 and UE4 whenever people would be able to quite clearly tell what a game was made with. Like, compared to what'll be going on in the future, that stuff is so small in comparison, because at the end of the day, well, the models are kind of big probabilistic machines, and that does mean they'll be trending towards what's average and safe, which, hey, if you're making big corporate slop games, like Mr. Sweeney is, that's probably fine. But for people who really want great, human, authored experiences, it's not going to do that. And again, I'm not sitting here saying to burn all the data centers down or anything crazy or extreme. No, not at all. Look, if a tool's useful and can be done ethically, that's fine. That's like technological progress. But the thing is, with so many of these cases, especially the ones that have actually hit customers, it's not been a useful tool to make the game content better. It has been lower quality content. It has been slop put into the game. That's what Fortnite Vader was, and it's what these voices are. And to know that, you just have to use your ears.
Hello there. This is a sample of this voice.
But for Sweeney, it's something different. Whoever writes the standards owns the ecosystem. Sweeney thinks he knows it, and he thinks that that's how he's going to save gaming. Or at the very least, how he's going to keep Unreal Engine at the center of gaming. And in a case like this, as much as I can think about individuals, I also like to think about incentives. I think the incentives are rather clear, and I'll leave it at that. Though I've got another story of CEO statements we should really think critically about. It's about Asha Sharma, CEO of Xbox, and a lot of the "we're so back" energy that has appeared since the big Bethesda reveals. Energy that I think is a little bit misguided, and in many cases, is falling for the narrative. You can check it out in this video next.